The light breaks slowly over the Arun River valley, rising first as a faint smear of silver across the Himalayan horizon before spilling down the ridgelines like molten gold. Mist clings to the rhododendron forest, drifting in ghost-like ribbons between the moss-draped branches. Even at dawn, the air carries a cold purity found only at these altitudes, where sound softens and every breath feels older than the mountains themselves. For centuries, people here have believed that the high peaks breathe, that the wind running across their knife-edged summits is the whisper of unseen beings. Standing on a narrow trail carved into the hillside, watching prayer flags flutter like trapped birds, it is hard not to believe them. I have come to eastern Nepal to follow the trail of one of Earth's most elusive creatures, the red panda. Known locally as haber, it has been woven into mountain folklore for generations, yet remains almost invisible in its own habitat. National Geographic has covered the giant panda many times, but its smaller, fiery-coated cousin, no larger than a household cat, remains largely a mystery. Many people do not realize it is not a panda at all, but a unique species in its own family, Ailuridae, a biological orphan with no close relatives alive today. The red panda is an evolutionary whisper left over from a different world, one gradually fading into silence. The trail curves upward through a forest so lush it seems to breathe moisture. Dew drips steadily from branches, falling onto carpets of emerald moss. Far below, the river murmurs like an old storyteller. As my guide, Nima Sherpa, moves ahead of me with the easy grace of someone born on mountain paths, he motions for me to walk softly. Haber hears everything, he says. If we make noise, it will disappear. Sometimes it disappears even when we don't. Nima has been working with conservation groups for almost a decade, collecting data on red panda populations. He knows their favorite resting trees, the bamboo groves where they feed, and the ridgelines they cross at twilight. Yet he has only seen a handful of individuals in his lifetime. Their camouflage and cautious nature make them nearly impossible to observe without patience, luck, and a willingness to spend long days moving through difficult terrain. We climb slowly, passing through a clearing where yaks have grazed. The air smells of damp earth and wild herbs crushed under hoof. Above us, a lammergeier circles, its massive wings cutting deliberate arcs through the morning sky. These mountains feel like a sanctuary untouched by the world, but Nima's stories reveal a harsher truth. Red pandas are threatened by habitat loss, deforestation, and a warming climate that alters the delicate balance of the Himalayan ecosystem. Poaching, though less common now, remains a danger. Pelts can still fetch a high price on illegal markets. As the sun climbs, frost retreats from the leaves, revealing tiny emerald shoots of bamboo, the red panda's primary food source. We pause near a cluster of trees whose bark bears faint claw marks. Nima kneels, touching the rough surface with reverence. This is a sleeping tree, he says. A mother used it last season. He points to a hollow in the trunk where tufts of reddish fur cling like faded threads. Holding one between his fingers, he smiles as though examining a relic. The forest holds quiet stories, and each sign left by the pandas, a drooping branch, a broken bamboo stalk, a scattering of droppings, forms part of an invisible narrative that Nima can read with ease. As we move deeper into the forest, a soft patter begins overhead. Not rain, but melting ice shaking loose from the canopy. The droplets fall like tiny, cold pearls against my jacket. The air thickens with the smell of wet pine. Somewhere ahead, a musk deer stumbles away through the undergrowth, its hooves tapping a nervous rhythm on the stones. Hours pass. The forest changes around us, transitioning from broadleaf trees to darker, denser firs. Moss thickens on the trunks until each pillar glows in velvety green. We stop to rest on a rock overlooking a steep ravine where a waterfall tumbles in a white ribbon. Its roar echoes through the valley like distant thunder. I feel the weight of the mountains pressing inward, not unwelcome, but undeniable, an ancient reminder that humans are visitors here. As I sip tea from a metal flask, Nima suddenly lifts a hand, signaling silence. His eyes fix on a point high in the canopy. At first I see nothing, only tangled branches and shifting patches of sun. But then a small shape moves, a flick of a ringed tail, a flash of auburn fur glowing like ember against the dark leaves. My breath catches. The red panda is perched on a horizontal limb, its body curled loosely, its white masked face turned toward us. It regards us with quiet curiosity, unafraid but watchful. Its fur, thick and soft-looking, ripples slightly in the breeze. The creature looks almost unreal, as though born from the forest's imagination. For a moment, time stretches. The panda blinks slowly, its dark eyes reflecting the filtered light. Its tail, banded with cinnamon and chestnut stripes, hangs gracefully over the branch. Then, with the fluidity of a shadow, it stands and begins to move along the limb. Each step is careful, measured. It pauses once to sniff a spray of bamboo leaves, then climbs higher into the canopy, vanishing behind a curtain of foliage. The encounter lasts no more than a minute, yet it feels like a gift, a brief unlocking of a world rarely seen. After the sighting, Nima beams, his pride evident. "Very lucky," he says. Sometimes a whole week passes without even a glimpse. We continue tracking the panda's movements, hoping for another sighting. The afternoon light grows warmer, filtering through the trees in golden shafts. A soft breeze rises, carrying with it the resinous scent of spruce. Soon we reach a ridge that overlooks a sweeping valley filled with clouds drifting like slow, white rivers. Distant ridgelines emerge and vanish as the mist shifts, giving the illusion of mountains breathing. As we descend into another bamboo thicket, Nima tells me about the village councils working to protect red panda habitat. Many communities once relied heavily on timber, but growing awareness, boosted by local education programs, has encouraged more sustainable practices. Villagers now plant bamboo to replenish panda feeding grounds, and ecotourism provides new income opportunities. Children who once saw the red panda only as a forest spirit now learn about its biology and its fragile status. Conservation, here, is not just science, it is culture, tradition, and an evolving relationship with the land. Still, challenges remain. As temperatures rise, bamboo species struggle to survive in lower elevations, forcing red pandas to migrate higher. Human settlements, livestock grazing, and road construction increasingly fragment their habitat. The more isolated the populations become, the more vulnerable they are to disease and genetic decline. Entering a clearing, we encounter a small group of women collecting fallen branches for firewood. They greet us warmly, offering bowls of hot millet porridge. One of them, an elderly woman named Dawa, has lived here her entire life. She remembers when the forests were thicker, when snow fell lower on the mountains, and when red pandas could occasionally be seen near village edges. "They are shy animals," she says, stirring her porridge thoughtfully. "Long ago, my grandfather said they were guardians of the forest. If you treated the land well, they would show themselves. If not, they would hide forever." Her words linger with me as we resume our trek. There is something timeless in the belief that animals and forests are intertwined, that respect is repaid with presence. Modern conservation science may frame the issue differently, but the underlying truth remains. Without the forest, the red panda cannot survive. Without communities that value the forest, neither can the balance of life that thrives within it. The sky begins to dim as clouds gather overhead. Soon, a light snow starts to fall, dusting the branches in white. The quiet deepens until even our footsteps seem muffled. We stop near a cluster of ancient firs where Nima hopes another panda might be resting. He moves slowly, scanning the canopy, pointing out fresh claw marks glinting faintly with frost. Then, faintly, a rustle. At first, I assume it is snow sliding from a branch, but then comes another sound, a soft chittering, almost like a bird but lower in pitch. We freeze. Through the mesh of branches, a small face appears, then another. Two red pandas emerge, their fur now carrying delicate flecks of snow. The smaller one, likely a juvenile, clings to a branch with endearing awkwardness, while the adult, probably its mother, adjusts her position with confident agility. She nuzzles it briefly before beginning to groom its fur with slow, rhythmic motions. Watching them feels like witnessing something sacred. Their world is quiet, self-contained, almost fragile. Every movement is deliberate, every interaction speaks of a survival strategy refined over millions of years. The juvenile sneezes, shaking snow from its whiskers, and the adult responds by curling her body protectively around it. The simplicity of the gesture, and the tenderness it conveys, reminds me how much humanity risks losing when species disappear. After several minutes, the adult panda rises, guiding the juvenile along the branches. They move deeper into the forest until the trees swallow them completely. Snow continues to fall, softening the landscape into a monochrome dream. We begin our journey back toward the village as dusk settles in. The air grows sharper, tinged with wood smoke from distant homes. The forest shifts from green to blue to near black as the last light sinks behind the ridges. In this fading glow, the mountains seem to expand, their silence stretching across the world like a vast, ancient memory. As we walk, I think of the red panda we saw, of its masked face, its gentle movements, its quiet resilience. I think of the stories passed down through generations, the belief that these animals are guardians of the forest. And I wonder whether the forest, in its own way, is a guardian of them. By the time the village lights appear, flickering like stars fall into earth, I understand why people here speak of the mountains with reverence. Life endures in delicate forms, woven into cold winds and towering trees. The red panda is one thread in that tapestry, fragile, beautiful, and irreplaceable. In a world straining under the weight of human ambition, there are still places where wildness persists, where creatures like the red panda move unseen through ancient forests. Their survival depends not only on science but on the stories we choose to tell, the values we choose to uphold, and the care we extend to the landscapes that nurture life. As night settles, I write this story by the dim light of an oil lamp, trying to preserve the memory of that flicker of red fur against the dark canopy. Somewhere in the mountains above, the pandas are still moving through the snow-laden trees, silent shadows of a world that remains both fragile and extraordinary. And perhaps, if we listen closely enough, we can still learn to protect the quiet magic they embody.